Most of my female clients always tell me that they eat the same thing, they're doing the same amount of cardio, and they still are gaining weight around their stomach, right? And most times they think something's really wrong with them, and they don't understand why they're gaining weight. But today I'm going to talk about what may be the cause of that, especially when they're up there in age. Not saying that they're old, but it can be what is called menopause belly. All right, so we're going to talk about that today. And before we go into it, shout out to my sister because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't even know what that is, quote unquote, per se. Because one day I was training her and she was like, T, you ever heard of menopause belly? I was like, what? And she was like, yeah. So, after I did the knowledge on it and she was sending me some information, I was like, this is a very good topic to discuss, especially to my female or women clients, because I have about a 2 or 3 to 1 ratio between women to men clients, so, and a lot of them are, well, not a lot, a few of them are, around that age where they get perimenopause, even menopause as well. And sometimes they can't get rid of that stubborn belly fat. And sometimes it's just not about calories in, calories out. And I said this in previous videos before that there are other variables to consider. And this is one of them today. All right. So let's get to it. You already know I got my notes in front of me. And stay to the end. You may like what I have to say. And the solution, if this fits for you, is going to be very simple. All right. So let's get to it. So we all know that estrogen drops during perimenopause and menopause, right? And that's where the fat begins to shift, right? It begins to store. So you go from a pear shape, then you look like an apple. And did you know that Android means apple? At one point, I thought they were um, the same company, just with different names. You know what I mean? So you think that they're different, but they're really just popularizing. I mean, profiting off of the difference. But that's an old school marketing scheme too, as well. But back to the topic, right? So, it goes to your hips and thighs, and accumulates around the abdomens, right? That's especially the visceral fat, meaning the fat around the organs. You know what I mean? So, and sometimes we think that it's an aging thing, but it's also a hormonal shift, but it's not the end all be all, right? Because estrogen influences your body preferentially, it stores fat. And when it drops, visceral fat storage increases, even if your weight on the scale doesn't change at all, right? So that's something you have to keep in consider is your body fat percentage, all right? So when you in for women in their 30s, right, you start to naturally lose muscle mass, right? And that process called sarcopenia, right? That's the where loss accelerates during menopause, right? So less muscle means lower resting metabolic rate, right? So that's why when people talk about the metabolism, the more muscle you have, the faster and better your or optimal is your metabolism. This is why strength training is very important, and that more and more science are showing that strength training is really the key to longevity because muscle equals longevity. Because along with muscle mass or muscle in comparison to body fat, bone density also increases. And especially for women, we know that if muscle mass or lean muscle mass decreases, there's a strong chance, or there's a strong chance that your bone density is decreasing as well, and therefore you lead to a greater chance or rapid chance to get osteoporosis. All right, which is less density in your bone mass. Right. So it says, so the same eating pattern that maintained your weight at 35 will not maintain your weight at 50 because your body is burning fewer calories at rest, right? So that's why when people say if you eat less and move more during this phase, you're not going to be successful because it's your metabolic baseline is different. I did a video too that the pain of your old self should motivate you to become a better self. You know what I mean? So just consider that as well, because most people will think challenges I have with a lot of my women clients. They will tell me how they were when they were 16, when they're 24. I ask them how they are now. Oh, I'm 50. not the same person. Body change. You have a couple of children. Hormonal levels are different. So always keep that in mind because you always want to be the best you can be for right now. All right, at this particular moment. And this is what I want to talk about as well is cortisol level and why is it linked to belly fat, right? Because chronic stress level elevates cortisol, and cortisol is directly linked to increased abdominal fat storage, right? So menopause itself is a physiological stressor, sleep disruption, hot flashes, and mood shifts, right? I know some of you ladies are experiencing that, right? And these things can elevate your cortisol level independent of your actual life stress, all right? So if you're wondering why belly fat shows up even when your calendar isn't more stressful than usual, meaning your cycle, your internal stress load might be higher than your external one. All right. And like I said before, it's all about alignment and you want to work with your body, but you have to be in tune with yourself to understand yourself. All right. And I tell my clients this all the time. Our bodies talk to us, but we just have to listen. All right. So what works? Right? One, of course, is strength training, right? We do practical application. Because what it does is it's a leverage tool, strength training, right? It's during this phase because it directly counteracts the muscle loss diving or driving your metabolic slowdown, pardon me. So 2 to 3 resistance sessions a week. Like I always say, focus on the compound lifts, your squats, your deadlift, your pressing, your rows. They do more for menopause, belly fat than our steady state cardio. And only use cardio as a tool, by the way, because your body is highly intelligent. It will just adapt, right? And then that's another cycle that you're going to get into that you really don't want to be in, right? So it's not about chasing a caloric burn. It's about building muscle. Always think about that, all right? Now, we're talking about protein and sleep or your nutrition. And I'm going to talk about that because this is the key right here. I really want to drive home with you ladies, right? So first is the protein, right? Your protein intake got to go up. So rule of thumb, 1 gram per ideal body weight. So if you are 200 pounds, you want to get to, let's say, 175, 170, you eat 170, 175 grams of protein. Okay. And your sleep got to be non-negotiable. Instead of watching 3 episodes of your Netflix series because you're going to bed at 11 o'clock, watch 2, go to bed at 10. All right. Little things like that. Take naps in between the day as well. All right. Because let me retrace my steps. Because back to the protein, right? Because it supports muscle retention and keeps you on fuller on fewer calories because it's satiating. Okay. Right. So now sleep. Back to the sleep now because I want to drive that point home with you guys. Right. Sleep is a form of self-care and is very important. Whenever you're sleep deprived, it raises your cortisol level and it impairs insulin sensitivity. This is why strength training is important too, because it helps with insulin sensitivity as well. All right. So like I said, you want to work with your body, not against it. So if menopause is disrupting your sleep, that's worth addressing directly, whether it's through your doctor's sleep hygiene or both. Now that we're talking about nutrition, because this is the secret sauce right here that I believe that can help, and I'll get to that. Look at nutrition as the umbrella, right? And it has 4 pillars or 4 stages to overall nutrition, right? So think of ingestion, digestion, absorption, elimination, right? Now, with the bloating or the menopause belly, the phrase we're going to focus on right now is absorption, right? And I found this from Dr. Ernstine, a Morning Star, right? Uh, a quote: most women think it's just hormones or aging, and they're not entirely wrong. But what you need to do is fix your gut biofilm because everyone blames declining estrogen and high cortisol for the bloating and stubborn weight. And while there is truth to that, it's actually a deeper issue. I forgot to mention that Dr. Ernstine is a gut specialist, right? So she further says, so when estrogen drops after 35, the gut lining weakens and higher cortisol suppresses immune function, which makes the body more prone to bacterial overgrowth. And when bad bacteria multiply, they build protective protein layers on the gut walls called biofilms that block nutrient absorption. That's the third phase of nutrition, right? So the body can't access what it needs because the barrier is physically blocking everything. And when the body isn't getting proper nutrients, it interprets this as starvation and raises cortisol even higher to single, find food, store energy. So cortisol isn't just eliminated from stress anymore, it's being artificially raised because the biofilm is blocking nutrients. End quote. This is why nutrition is very important, but it's very simple as well. What can help break down the biofilm to restore your gut health, as she says in this article, is bromelain, which is found in what? You guessed it, pineapples. Not only just it makes your juices taste good, so they say, right? The enzyme in it will help restore your biofilm, right? We'll break it down so it can help with ingestion, because one of the properties that bromelain, my pronunciation is all messed up. Bromelain, it what it would do is it helps with bloating, right? So they say 2 to 3 pineapple stems a day, but obviously no one's going to eat that. So she mentioned of a supplement that you can take, which is highly concentrated in that enzyme. It's called Nora. I checked it on Amazon. It's there. You can get it. It's a European supplement company, so it's real restricted in comparison to over here in the States with no artificial whatnot and everything like that. So it's spelled Noura, Nora. Check it out on Amazon or type it in your Google search or Firewall, whatever, and look it up for the company and do the research on that as well. And from the results that I've read, it's people said it worked within a week to 2 weeks. Their bloating had went down, their stomach has went down. Okay, so it's Nora, Noura, and that will help you with that. So you can try that. You have nothing to lose, but everything to gain. All right. Don't say I never did anything for you. All right. So, in conclusion, don't go out here trying to chase your old body. Just do the basics. Work on your nutrition. Just because you take that, what I recommended, don't think it's a magic pill and then tomorrow you're good. Still strength train, still get your sleep, still try to have a healthier lifestyle, because that is the foundation, right? This is just a supplement that to help you. Okay. And this is what Alchemy Fitness is all about, where you get transferred from that to gold in alignment and working with your body. And we shift that mindset and everything else will follow. So if you found this useful, like, comment, and share, and subscribe to the channel for more fitness advice as well. And I would like to know what other problems that you have in the comments as well, because I read all of you guys' comments and I appreciate each and every one of you. All right. So this is Alchemy Fitness signing off, where we transfer you from lead to gold. Train hard, train smart, and train safe. Till next time. Peace.